Hello, my name is Irina Kudenko. I'm a research and evaluation specialist in STEM education. I work for a company called My Science. This is the biggest UK provider of science-related and STEM-related professional development and resources, both online and material resources in STEM education. In my presentation today, I would like to talk about pupils' views on STEM subjects and careers. It's very often It is taught very often that pupils' interest and enjoyment of learning STEM subjects is the same, leads them to the selection of STEM careers. However, research shows that one is not necessarily leads to another one. Using the context of a multinational project, we were able to collect views and examine views of secondary pupils across Europe. Let me give a little bit of background to the situation, to the problem. It's kind of been acknowledged that STEM workforce in Europe it is a problematic issue, and there have been a number of high-flying publications and publications in social media, in national and international media, talking about giving warnings about the future of the STEM workforce. And there are also numerous social, economic, political implications related to it. Very often they talk about the declining number of STEM graduates, and related to it is the declining interest of pupils, already evident in the secondary school, in their interest in STEM subjects and careers. And attached to it is a gender and regional differentiation and dimension. So particularly there are several subjects, for instance physics and ICT, where there is a special concern with the engagement of girls. Girls are not likely, they are okay with choosing chemistry or biology as profession, but they don't really like to go into physics or IT. However, research on pupil engagement in STEM learning and careers shows that there are numerous factors that influence the decisions regarding career choices. The socioeconomic and cultural background of a child can directly influence his ability or his inclination to choose STEM careers. For instance, if his parents or her parents work in STEM profession, then of course they bring more information and more likely to engage a child in STEM-related activities. The downside of that theory is that science capital is a factor that's very difficult to influence. On the contrary, if classroom practices are important, then there is something that you as teachers can do about it. So in my presentation today, I really would like to talk about it. What can be done within the classroom to engage and to motivate young children, young people towards STEM careers. Let me give you a bit of a background on research methodology that we used in this research. So first of all, we used pupil questionnaires from the project ECB Engineers. The questionnaire was administered in 15 languages, and we have participants from 24 EU and EU partner countries. Overall, there is more than 7,000 pupils, secondary pupils and post-secondary pupils, who answered the questionnaires. Among the themes that we asked the pupils were their views on STEM subjects, what they think about the lessons, what they think about modern industry and jobs in modern technology and science sector. Very often you think as a teacher that you do know what your pupils think. However, within our research, we were able to complement pupils' answers with what their teachers think that pupils would answer. And in fact, very often, sometimes we found out that teachers not necessarily have a good understanding. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So I believe that this research would be interesting to you, because if you look at the map shows you the geographical spread of the survey. So you see there are a lot of countries, so maybe there is a town next to you that, or maybe in fact your own town or your own country that participated in this survey, and you might find it interesting comparing to what your pupils in your class think. And first of all, let's talk about the most obvious thing, interest in STEM subjects. In our survey, we actually had two statements related to measuring of interest in subjects. So one was that I'm very interested in topics related to science and technology, and the other statement was I find school lessons in science and technology interesting. And if you look at the charts, you could see the results of the survey, initially for the whole survey. And what is immediately obvious is that you have a big gender difference, almost 15% gender difference between boys and girls. So you have more boys interested in the subjects and more boys interested finding lessons interesting comparing to girls. But that's not the whole story. So look now, and you could see the regional comparison between Northern European countries and Southern European countries. And the difference again is quite staggering, because you could immediately see that it looks like pupils in the Southern European countries are much more engaged and interested in STEM subjects and careers comparing to their Northern European counterparts. On top of that, because we thought it's not enough really to ask only about general interest, and it's not enough really to ask about lessons, we thought it would be interesting to know how much pupils do outside their school. I mean, okay, they might say that they're interested. Let's ask them about what do they do outside the school curriculum. And hence the table below, so you could see that there is a statement offered to pupils about learning of science-related topics outside the classrooms. Maybe going to a museum, or reading a book, or watching a documentary related to STEM. And again, if you look and compare the charts, the statistics in the chart and the table, you see that the number of pupils goes down. So what's happening is that more pupils are happy to say that they're interested in science. However, when you say, did you actually read a book about it? Did you go to a museum? You find that the number goes down. So not especially girls, they're less likely to engage with STEM outside the classroom. The conclusion you would like to make as a teacher is that this is your contact. I mean, what you do in the classroom really matters for girls, because that might be the only contact point with science that they have. Again, I would like to bring your attention to the gender differences. Boys do, on average, 15% more outside the classroom than girls, and regional variations. And here you can see that European partner countries have 65% of them say that they engage in STEM-related activities outside the classroom, comparing, say, to only 44% for Western Europe. And another bit of findings is to talk about STEM in school and practical value of learning STEM. So here you see at the table, there is a table that shows you a number of statements related to learning of STEM subjects in school and what they think how useful this knowledge is. Again, quite a noticeable difference between girls and boys. For instance, lessons in science and technology are among my most favorable subjects in school, and you see that girls are less likely to say yes to this comparing to boys. But that's not the case when we move to social values, which are not shown here, but was also part of our research, or if we move to discussing practical values of science knowledge. For instance, here you have a statement, I think school mathematics will have practical use in my life. And you see girls are very well aware of that practicality of learning math. And the numbers are exactly the same for boys and girls. Similarly, we offered some negative statements, and here you see the last statement saying that in my future career I have no need for good knowledge of mathematics, science and technology, and you see that the number of those who agree with this statement are quite low, both for boys and girls alike. The conclusion we are likely to make is that girls do understand the relevance of science, of learning STEM subjects. They do understand the social value of learning STEM. We also asked a number of statements, gave a number of statements to pupils, asking them about STEM careers and STEM jobs. And here you see two statements offered. I would like to have a job related to science or technology, and the other one is that I like learning about jobs related to science and technology. So immediately what you could see is that the number of pupils who answer positively to the first question is just about above the 50% threshold, but number of girls is much lower, only 45% compared to number of boys, which is 62%. There is a slightly 10% more of those people are interested in learning about jobs, which is not the same as saying that I'm interested in a career myself. Below in the charts you could see regional differences. What is quite obvious, again, you see that Europe, I mean, although we talk about Europe in general, but the situation is quite different in different parts of Europe. And in Northern Europe you have a lowest number of pupils really thinking about career or bothering thinking about getting information about careers. So it's all very well to ask about what's the interest and what's the level of interest in jobs and what's the interest in the subject. However, the most interesting question here is to understand why. Why does it happen? Why some pupils think positively about careers while others say no, thank you, that's not for me. And how we or you as teachers can influence, whether you can indeed influence their choices. So in our study we were able to investigate a little bit deeper in the relationship between different factors. For instance, the most obvious starting point was to investigate the relationship between the interest in STEM careers and career choices, career preferences. So here in the table you could see the cross-referencing of two questions, and so we looked at basically we ask question, give a statement, I would like to have a job related to STEM, to science and technology, and then you have two groups of pupils saying yes and saying no to this question. So if you look at those who say yes, and they are green, the bottom three lines in the table, then you could see that over 90% of those also agree that they have an interest in STEM subjects, which is kind of obvious. If you're not interested in the subject, you're not likely to choose a profession. However, if you look at the first three lines of the same table, those who say, no, we don't want a job, we don't think about jobs in STEM professions, you could see that over half of them actually say, or almost half of them say, yes, we like STEM, subjects, we have an interest, but we don't want to get a job. There is something, what is quite obvious here is that to have an interest in STEM subjects is a necessary but clearly not sufficient condition for pupils to choose a profession. And in fact, if we look at the girls, so for 10 girls who actually say, yes, I'm interested in STEM careers, only 6 of these girls would register interest in careers. So it's quite obvious that having an interest in the subject, like in their lessons, is not enough. There have to be something else that stimulates girls or boys alike and stimulates them to choose STEM professions. So what else could be done? So we move to the next suspect, which is learning about STEM careers. So how much information about STEM careers and STEM jobs they have in the classroom. We ask pupils to reflect on their experience in the classroom and ask them whether they get information about STEM careers in school or they don't. So then we looked at these two categories of pupils, those who say yes, we do discuss careers in the classroom, and those who say that we don't, and investigated how many of them actually are interested in STEM professions. And it seems to be that bringing the element of career information to the classroom in a meaningful way, because pupils do recall that they actually have these discussions, increased the number of pupils interested in careers by 20%, which is a fascinating discovery for us. Basically what it means, and it's influencing girls as much as it influencing boys. What actually means, the interpretation of this finding is that if you do provide information about jobs, if you do give them the knowledge of STEM in the context of jobs, that really is influencing their choice of careers, and it is likely to sway extra 20% towards STEM jobs. And just to illustrate it even further, I will bring your attention to these statistics. Consider this. When we among the the girls who strongly agree that they discuss careers in the classroom, over 70% of these girls say that yes, we would like to have a job related to STEM. But compare them to the girls who say, no, we actually never discuss STEM careers in the classroom. And the number of girls in this category who would think about jobs in STEM is only 30%, which is a very telling story. So this finding is actually corroborated by the results of the teachers' survey. So what teachers tell us at the end of the pilot year, when pupils, in the course of the project, teachers involve pupils in a number of practices related to STEM education, and many of them were about STEM careers. So at the end of the year, we asked teachers what do they think, whether it had an impact on pupils or not. And as it is illustrated in this chart, so an overwhelming majority of teachers confirmed that there was an impact not only in terms of pupils' knowledge related to STEM subjects, but also in terms of their knowledge and motivation towards STEM careers. The choice of careers is a complex issue, and there are a number of things that influence these choices. And there is so much that you can, as teachers, can do. I mean, not everything can be done in the classroom. You have seen that there are gender differences, that there are regional differences, and they're probably, depending on the context, there will be different solutions required. However, there are certain things that can be recommended and implemented universally. So it has been shown that interest in STEM subjects is a necessary condition, so making lessons interesting is really helpful. However, it's not a sufficient condition for fostering young people towards STEM careers. So there's something extra that needs to be done in the classroom. Just entertaining pupils is not enough. They might enjoy their lessons, and it has been particularly obvious with girls who say, yes, we like our lessons, science can be interesting, career, thank you, this is not for us. Science capital is something that is very hard to change because it's defined by your family background and is a relatively inflexible factor. Something that happens in the classroom is relatively easy to change and can have important implications for career choices. But it's not only enjoyment, it's not only information that you give about the science concepts and science subjects. It's very important that pupils see and contextualize it in relation to careers. When you bring people and they talk about their professions, so what we're talking about, role models, this is really inspirational. If you bring more information regarding the use of particular science knowledge in certain professions, this is really helpful to understand and to think, to contextualize it, to think about careers in relation to themselves. So I hope you find this presentation useful, and you have seen that the relevance of bringing STEM information about STEM careers in the classroom, that it can be helpful in convincing your pupils to make the informed decision regarding career choices. If you would like to find out more information about this research or about practices that can enhance your classroom experience and your classroom teaching of STEM subjects, then I'll refer you to the engineer's website, and the address is on this slide.